Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming tonight. We appreciate your interest in the rather large selection of candidates for this year's election for mayor and for Paullina City Council. Before we get started with some questions or some little background about each one of the candidates, I'd like to do a little bit of housekeeping. First of all, I want to give a great big huge thank you to the Paullina Legion Auxiliary. Tonight we have Dee and Jody. It's an old lady thing, sorry. They recruited the volunteers for all these goodies, so please feel free to come get snacks, drinks, coffee to stay awake. No offense, anybody. They are undertaking a lot, including a lot of renovations or plans. I think the next one up is the kitchen. So please feel free to be generous tonight and any other time you have an opportunity to do so. Remember them anytime you can. Attend their events, send a check, have a drink, whatever it is. Tonight this is our event, so this space is ours this evening. So we're going to ask a few things of all of our audience. The first one, please be respectful at all times. Ask the questions, that's great. Raise your hand. If somebody else is speaking, we will get to you. We're also going to ask that if you have a cell phone, to please turn it off or at least silence it. Photographs, recordings, video, audio are not allowed this evening. Okay. We got a big thank you. Do we have any school board candidates here tonight? There are 4 school board seats open. 3 incumbents are running. They were all invited. 1, Beth Stephen Eller Woodall, did tell me she's at her son's cross-country meet. He made it past districts. He's quite a runner. I have not heard from the other 2. And there is 1 seat in which the term ended and there is no candidate, and that is for right here in Paullina and the immediately surrounding area. If you want more information about that, even out of curiosity, just come see me when this is all over. I'll do what I can or direct you to the proper place. Any questions before we get started? Saving them for the candidates. We love that. Awesome. Okay. Before we start in with questions, y'all probably know each other. I was told a little while ago this is a small town, and that's the value here. Do you know everybody? Okay. So there's one other microphone down there. We're going to start down at the mayor's end, and we're going to give each of you about a minute or so. Introduce yourself, tell us about your life here in Paullina, your ties to Paullina, and the inspiration for running for office.
Good evening, everybody. Can you hear me okay? Yeah. So, I'm Marlon Sharda. I grew up in Paullina. My wife and I grew up here, graduated high school here in Paullina, moved away for a number of years, but having both sets of parents here in Paullina all of those years, we were back here a lot, kept in touch with Paullina over that time. We moved back to Paullina in June of 2022, and the reason we decided to move back here is because we wanted to move back to a small town where we could make a difference. You know, being 2 people in a city of 80,000 where we were versus being 2 people in a city of 972 people or so. We wanted to do what we could do to do that. By trade, by career, I'm an accountant. I've got a CPA certificate. I don't do taxes, just in case you're asking for that. All CPAs don't do taxes. Some do, most do around here. I specialize in business, financial information, and planning. I do part-time fractional controller and CFO work for 6 different clients. My office is in the old Grenade Garage building. My wife Cheryl is back here, Cheryl Hoback. We have 3 boys and 7 grandchildren in South Dakota, Minnesota, and Virginia. And hobbies, volunteering, car shows, if you see an old light blue truck driving around town, that might be me. And I'm a project person. The reason I want to run for council is I just want to help make a difference. You know, we came back here, we chose to be here, and we want to be involved. We want to do what we can do. We want to focus on just being, you know, make the town, everybody be good neighbors. You know, that's the overriding reason we want to be here. If we like the town and you want to be good neighbors, it's like everything else just falls into place with that. So I'll be, expand on that a little bit, I'm sure, as I'm asked questions. And again, thank you for being here tonight.
I'm Steve Heron. Grew up in this town all my life. My parents live here. I have a family, my wife Susan, 2 daughters, and 7 grandchildren. 4 grandchildren live here with my daughter Nicole and Cody. I care about this community. I think there can be some great things to be done here, and that's why I want to run for mayor.
Hi, my name is John Ely. I've lived here all my life, which could be an advantage or a disadvantage, depending on how you look at it. Grew up on a farm half mile north of Paullina, and then moved into Paullina. Later on, been here all my life, never moved away, and I basically just love Paullina. Paullina is great. I used to be on the city council for about 10 years or so, and also served as mayor for 2 years. And I'm semi-retired now, but I do repair computers and stuff like that. That seems to be a nice little niche in there. Had a couple businesses in Paullina. I was a scout leader for about 25 years. Matter of fact, I probably have some scouts here. And that's bad. Anyway, that makes you feel. I'm an elder at the church, and I also designed and pretty much installed the streaming system we use now. I'm a volunteer at the Wonderland Theater, mainly in the projectors, although all volunteers do everything there. So you do that. I've been actually with the theater since about 1972, when I was a graduate on there, when the projectors were just a big giant arc welder. And one other thing I do for a hobby is I judge science fairs. The one thing about that is most committees, if I'm elected mayor, most committees will have to come up with some pretty good research, because I've learned to judge research and stuff. Other than that, I think that's about it. So.
Thanks, John. Jenny Workmeister. How's everybody tonight? Good. I look across this crowd and I'm trying to figure who I haven't interacted with or that I know or don't know. And I can't really come up with anybody. I see my old piano teacher sitting up front here. And right next to her is her brother, who I played football with. Classmates right there. So I pretty much have had relationships or met or talked to most of you in this room. A lot of you know my background, so I'm not going to go into it too deep. But in 1959, my folks brought me here because I was only 1 year old at the time. And most of you should know D&D Grocery. Remember that out here? Just a lot over here. So that was what brought my folks here to Paullina. I grew up in the school district here. Had a lot of fun through my high school years. Basically went to school so I could play athletics, believe it or not. But from there, I went to work for Northern Natural Gas Company, worked for them for 20 plus years. Northern Natural eventually turned into Enron, and I'm sure most of you know about the Enron story, so I won't go into that either. But And eventually moved to Minneapolis for 13 years because of a job opportunity up there. Then came back to Paullina, have been active here in Paullina on different issues and different things, trying to help where I can. Reason that I want to be mayor, not mayor, sorry guys. I did that on purpose, by the way. Reason that I want to be on the council, as John said, I just love this town. You can walk in the hardware store, you can walk in the grocery store, there's smiles, how are you, how you doing? Lumberyard, you know, you could go up and down Main Street, and we're fortunate to have a Main Street like what we have, and I want to try to preserve that. And my wife is saying wrap up, so I'm wrapping up. Going to the...
I got it.
I'm Nicole Fennell Jacobs. I have lived in Paullina my whole entire life. Despite my age, 40 years old, I have been very instrumental within our community. I'm sure you have seen me out and about with our Chamber of Commerce. We have done quite a few events that have brought amazing crowds into this town. And I can only hope that they get bigger and better. As far as background of myself, well, I guess I'm married. My husband is Daniel Jacobs. I have 2 daughters, Kaylee Jacobs and Brenna Jacobs, and a soon-to-be son-in-law next summer. I worked at the nursing home here in town for 14 years until we had to close down and move to Sutherland. After that, I worked in sales at Staples Promotional Products in Orange City. From there, Daniel and I bought Roseland Trucking about 3 years ago, and we also farm. The reason why I would like to be on City Council is, again, like everybody else kind of has said, I love this town. You know, it's the only town that I've been to, but I have pride in our town, and I think that we have great growth that we can have, and it's evident with a lot of these people though too that they also have passion for it, and I think that we can do amazing things together as a team, teamwork together, and that's about everything for me.
I feel like the rookie here because everyone's been here their whole lives or grown up here. My name is Jay Bootsma. I'm from all over the place. I was born in Des Moines and adopted when I was 7, came from a abusive home and all that, so I was put up for adoption to a good Christian family out of Sioux Center, Iowa. Grew up there. We had to move to Arizona due to health reasons with my father for a while, so I grew up in Phoenix and graduated in Phoenix Christian High School there. My heart was always back in the country. I moved back here, came back home. I got married. My new wife and I settled down in Paullina about 2000. Started a family, had our 4 kids here and everything, so we've been here over 20-some years. In the meantime, I'm divorced now, but my kids are grown up and in the military, and I have a daughter who's got 4 kids for me, grandkids, so doing good there. I started out in Paullina just because, I was drew by certain attractions, and the people here were nice and kind when we came through and checked it out and was looking for a rental house. The lake obviously is a big part of it, you know, you like that freedom there. So we were sucked into it, and we made ourselves a home here, and I felt people made a home for me, and I've made it my home for the last 20 years. I worked at the sheriff's office for about 7-8 years. Left that, and now I'm a Christian boys counselor at the boys' home in Peterson, Iowa. I felt I could relate with those kids who have been having a hard time growing up or whatnot, and I could relate and teach them, hey, you can make things out of yourself even though you struggle. I really honestly wasn't thinking about council member or anything like that, but I had some people come to my door asking me about it and talking about it, and they encouraged me, and they gave me a lot of compliments on my honesty and integrity and stuff like that, and said, hey, we need some people like you on there that are going to speak your mind, but also treat everybody with respect and work as a team. And so I said, yeah, I'll do that for this town. They've done a lot for me, so I'm gonna do it back. I work with kids, obviously, so I think about our future with the young generation. We gotta make it to grow in businesses, and we're getting to the point where a lot of the kids are taking over family businesses and running stuff in town, and we want to keep them here, so just thought I could help out with that.
Jay, I hate to tell you, you're not the only one that wasn't born and raised here. I wasn't born and raised here. I was raised 10 miles over in Southern. I'm Jean Unrau. I've been married for 45 years to one man, Randy. I'm sure you all know Randy. Have some relatives in the front row here, so that's good. I worked for the co-op, for local co-op here for 39 years, and I think I worked with Steve Heron for a little while. I think Denny, didn't you work at the co-op for a while?
Yep.
Yeah, okay. Don't have any children. I've had a lot of fur children, which I thoroughly enjoy. I love horses, and I've helped Kristen Yeski with therapy horses. Like kids from Hope Haven come down, and that's been really challenging, but really fun for me to do. Lived in Paullina for 45 years. I love it here. The people are friendly. Everybody's knowledgeable. Everybody's willing to help everybody. And I think I'd just like to try to continue my term for next year term on City Council. So, thank you.
Hi, I'm Glenda Hightoos. I wasn't born and raised here in Paullina either, but I married a local boy. And I don't know, I am a widow. I was married to my husband 54 years before he passed away. I have 6 children. I have 14 grandchildren and 14 great-grandchildren. The reason I'm running for city council is I had a lot of people come to my door and ask me if I would run for city council. I was going to do this 4 years ago and I hesitated, but now I decided it was time. I have the time to give to the town of Paullina. We have lived here since 1984. We owned and ran Lloyd's of Germantown, a bar restaurant, and we also managed the Paullina Golf Course for 6 years. I worked for a lawyer. I have worked for a local farmer running scale house and computer. I guess I'm kind of a jack of all trades here. We farmed for 25 years in Cherokee, and then we moved to Paullina. I just want to see so many things in a little town get done, and hopefully the people in this town, and they're great people, will help and step forward to do some good volunteer work to help get a lot of things done that have been tabled for such a long time. I don't know what else you need. I'm an open book, let's put it that way. So you can ask me any questions you want about whatever my feelings are for anything that needs to be done. My first priority for running for council was to make sure that we got a new fire building for our EMTs and all. We needed it desperately. And I said, this is the one thing that I'm going to volley for, just to get that new fire shed. So, Kim, I'm going to hand it over to you.
Okay, like everybody else, I'm not from here. I was born in Arizona. Oh, wait, I'm Kimberly Myers. Like I said, I was born in Phoenix, Arizona, raised till I was about 13 in Las Vegas, Nevada. Moved out into Iowa in 1983. Moved to Paullina in 1996, where I met Mark Myers. We are now married. We have 2 beautiful kids together. We have 5 total between everybody, him and I. I guess the reason for wanting to run for city council is I love this community. They're great. I want to better the town. make it a family, you know? There's been a lot of negotiations with the trees and the fire department and the shed and things like that. I want the community to come together, not fall apart, if that makes sense to you. Not quite sure what questions you're going to ask me tonight, but I'm going to answer them the best that I can, the best of my knowledge. I will try and do what I can for each and every one of you while being on City Council. Other than that, I don't know what to say. This is all new.
Thank you, guys. Okay, we heard a lot there. Anybody have any questions at this point for any particular candidate? Okay. A while ago, I asked if there were any school board members here, and nobody stood up. And shame on me. Our sound guy in the corner, my husband Richard, is a school board member. But his term is not expiring right now, so sorry about that. I know we have a couple of former school board members. Okay. I was going to ask each of you what your vision is if you're on the council for this community. How about if I ask that question and I will go down the line and you get one, maybe two sentences to answer the question. You guys okay with that? What's your vision? What do you want Paullina to look like by the end of your first term? Okay, I'm going to start with Kim, and we'll go backwards.
My vision for this town is to clean it up, make it where people would want to come here and shop and want to live here.
Okay, two sentences. Linda, two sentences.
I only get 2 sentences. You know me better than that.
Tonight's your test.
Well, we've had quite a discussion about the trees in Paullina, and I am rallying to try and get more trees planted on the parkways. They're going to be very bare with all these trees, and it's really sad.
You cheated. You got 4 sentences.
I told you.
It's okay if you cheated, Glenda.
We'll teach you.
I would like to continue to work with the fire department, EMS people, get the fire station going. We need it really badly.
I am on board and trying to do this for teamwork and as a community to do the things that the city wants to see and not just a few individuals. Because I feel that we're here to represent the city and not just my opinions and so-and-so's opinion, but everybody has a say in it. I want to be open-minded and listen to what you guys want.
Not to piggyback on Jean, but I think that's a big thing for our community is the fire department. Everyone around us has a great facility, and I think we can only benefit from that. I also think that housing is crucial in town as well. We have a lot of empty houses. We have a lot of area where we can expand for our housing.
First word I would use is unification of the different entities here in Paullina, being a Chamber of Commerce, Economic Development. Second word would be expansion. We need to grow as a community.
Short-term, would be to get the city's finances in order. Long-term, would be housing.
The fire department EMS station is very important to me. We've been working on this for quite some time as a council, and we need to move forward on that and make sure that this is something that we can achieve.
I'll cover 4 main topics in 1 sentence, just a category. I want to enhance community pride, focus on our infrastructure, review the city organization to determine how we best serve our residents, and start planning longer term into the future.
They did good. Okay. Thank you all very much. Those are all good visions, all worthy. So now, I have a small list here of things that are timely. Things that are in discussion in council that have been for quite some time, some more than others. I want you to prioritize these 5 things. And with that, tell us what the number 1 limiting factor is. Is it money? Is it people? Is it time? And they are trees, streets, utilities, and the emergency management building. I'm calling it emergency management, sorry. So those of you who have been following or in government probably have already established those priorities. And if you need me to repeat any of them, that's fine. So let's start with Dennis and work this way through the council members, because the council is in control. Decisions are made by your city council. And that's the team that you need to have unified. Personal opinion. Dennis?
Good question. You said 5, but you only gave us 4. Yeah, it's already off.
I can't count.
So it's
I
4?
can't read my writing.
Just repeat it.
Trees, streets, utilities, emergency management building. Do you want police part of that or separate? One other thing that was touched on that probably could be included in a high need would be the situation with the city's finances.
Are we adding that one, or?
Yeah, add that, that's fine.
You sure don't?
There we go.
Thank you.
Yes. And John, you go first.
Okay, so we're supposed to say our list?
Yeah, your priorities and what will hold it up.
Okay. What I see is utilities is number 1, because you need that before you can do any of the other ones. 2 is finances, because you need to know where your money's at and what you got for projects. 3 is a EMS building or fire department building. 4 is streets, and 5 is trees. And as I mentioned, why I picked utilities first is because you gotta have the electricity, you gotta have the sewer, the water capability to do any of these other projects. And until we get that figured out, and in conjunction, of course, with that is you need money to do it. So first of all, you gotta put your budgets together on what dollars you gotta need to do these utility projects, which I understand what electric is one thing in the process already. But you need to do your budgeting to know, and then you can do these projects and go from there.
Yep. Well, I put finances first, because finances makes everything. Then I ended up utilities, EMS, streets, and then trees. Trees I do have for the 5th one, and we just had this discussion at the council meeting this last time. Taking down so many of our trees is going to kind of wreak havoc on our beautification of our town. So I do feel like that is very important, but with all of these others listed, I do feel that that could possibly be on the bottom list. Second, for the EMS, again, that's crucial. I think that's something that's needed, but again, finances, that's number 1 for me.
being a new guy, not knowing a lot about the financial situation of Paullina and everything yet, and haven't seen anything, I'm right on board with Nicole with the same order. Finances, obviously, it's a business. To run a town, you have to have money. You have to be making money in the utilities. I was on the fire department for a year, voluntary department there here in Paullina for a while, and I know we've outgrown it. It's time for something to grow and get a newer one. Then it was streets and trees, obviously, was my final two. Sure, we can all use to work on the streets a little bit here and there, and you're always going to have those complaints, whether it's alleys or potholes and stuff, but that's just part of life. We get those and we have to problem solve them as they come along.
Okay, currently on the city council, I think we need to get our finances in order. It's been a couple of rough years on us, and we're slowly getting to where we need to be, but we have a little bit more work to do. Utilities are probably the second, because evidently you need those to put up an EMS building. That's third, and then streets, and then the trees.
I'm with all of them. I think our finances are a mess. We have yet to see any budget or anything on the finances for anything. Utilities is very important because that's our livelihood here in Paullina. Without the electricity and the water, we wouldn't survive. The fire station was one of my top priorities. I think that's very important too. We have a great volunteer fire department and an ambulance crew, and they basically are quite self-sufficient. They get their money and they deal with it very well. The streets, we do have a bad issue with our streets, potholes, and that's one thing I think I kind of got on the bandwagon at one of the meetings for. And the trees, yes, I understand they are not a major project, but within the next year or two, I think that's something we can look at too.
I guess I'm on board with everybody else. Our lists are basically the same. It's going to be finances, and then utilities, and then the emergency building management, streets and trees. That's the order I believe it needs to go in. You know, because first you got to have the financing to do everything. Then you need the electric to see what you're doing, and then you can go from there. That's my thoughts.
Well, I'm kind of on the bandwagon with everybody else. I've been kind of raising the alarm last few meetings, and the first one on my list is city finances too. Again, a budget was mentioned, but we haven't had a treasurer in over a year, and the treasurer is the person that actually, for lack of a better term, reconciles each account, tells us what we spent in each account, and pretty much what's left in that. And I do not see how we can make an accurate budget without those figures. And then number two is utilities, and not because we have to be concerned, because there's some major upgrades in our future, especially for the electrical, and also with the federal government loving to come in and make special rules about how we get our electricity. But we're on an old transformer type system, so our primary is not even, Kelly can correct me, but it's not even made anymore. Well, most transformers are wound when they go out anyway, but just imagine being without electricity for a few months for sure. And so on that, so you can't even bring in a spare transformer, and that's concerning to me. The EMS building, of course, and that, it's good to see that that is moving on. Streets, that's an annual concern. We always have streets, and and of course, if one street doesn't get patched, that's the worst street in town. And and goes on. So perhaps we can make a plan and get a plan together where certain streets are repaired each year and go on. And then, of course, trees. But since it takes 20 years to grow a good tree, then we do have some time to let this one, to get the proper law in order. The original ordinance was kind of ramrodded through, and that's why we're addressing it again.
So on my list, the most important number one is city finances. This needs to be transparent with the council and to the public. We need to know our revenues, we need to know our expenses, and we need to know what our balance is. We have a good staff, a good city clerk that, and a deputy clerk that are doing a great job at that, and we need to continue with that. That's important for us to know as a council. The second thing is the utilities. Our council has worked on getting a new system put in, a new switchgear system put in. That is, on the electric side, that is very important because our electric is outdated and that needs to be upgraded. Also, our water, we have good water in this community. We need to keep that utility and we need to keep that good. Our reservoirs do need some work, and that's something that the council has discussed in the past, and we need to move forward on that also. I know I said earlier the EMS building is important. That's probably my top priority, that we get that built. I have that number 3 on my list. If we don't have the utilities and the city finances, the EMS building doesn't fall into place. So that's why that one was number 3. Streets, we need to work on our streets. And then the trees are number 5. There's a lot of dead trees in this community, especially on the city right away. We also have some dead trees in our personal property also. Doesn't sound like it, but that's a big deal. And everybody in this community needs help with that, and that is important also.
In my world, finances are always the top priority, and the city has struggled, through the staffing transition. They really lost some ground there on knowing. It's not that the city finances are bad, it's that we don't know exactly where they're at. The reporting just isn't there. The record keeping, the bookkeeping, the accounting, et cetera. So that has to be fixed. And then also with finances, we need to look at, I think, other options. Look into grants, how do we increase revenue to the city, housing, for tax base, et cetera. So that all falls under financing priority number 1. Number 2 is utilities. The infrastructure, as I mentioned before, needs to be a priority. I really put utilities and streets almost together. EMS is critical, but we have to have something to support. They're here to support all of us, and we need to have a healthy community and then have EMS support that. And then trees are under our first impressions, our city beautification, et cetera. But that when you prioritize them, that's not where we're going to be spending big money anytime soon. But I think allowing residents to do what we can, on the tree front is what we've been working on with the city council recently also.
Thank you. That was really good thoughtfulness. I never ever thought I would see the day that Bruce Billick didn't want to speak to the crowd, but he called me over with the question, so I'm going to let him ask it for two of our council members.
You're late on bringing me the mic, but when everybody was introducing themselves, there was a lot of talk about the fire station or EMS building, and what went through my mind is what's wrong with it. So,
Do we have anybody from fire, ambulance, or police here? that will speak?
I don't know enough to say anything.
Yeah.
What's wrong with the building?
What's wrong with the building?
It was such a hot topic. What's wrong with it
What's
though?
wrong with the building?
Try and back a fire truck in and you have 3 people, 4 people around it because they go, wait, you got 2 inches, you know? Every single time they have to do that.
Doors going down less than
Way, it's really.
Okay, hang on. All right, here we go.
To explain things in a short manner here, the building is outdated and outgrown. The size of fire trucks is not getting any smaller, they're getting bigger. And the building is way too small, we have no room to expand or do anything. When you pull a truck out and you back it in, the mirrors are hitting the doors on the way out. So, you know, we don't have any room for training, we don't have room for much of anything anymore. So it's a need, it's from the 70s, it's gotta be done.
Just the doors, just the structure? What about the room in the back? Whatever you call it?
That's just basically a day room, training room, meeting room. It's not very big at all.
Doors are too small then?
The doors are
The
very
whole
small.
building is
yes.
too
Thank
small.
you.
The whole building is way too small for.
That's what I was looking for. Thank you.
Yeah, for expansion and future expansion, we have to have something bigger and better, so.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's the part of it.
And you are?
Put in bigger doors.
Corey. Thank you, Corey. Anybody else other questions on the emergency management building? How about?
I have a question for Marlon and Steve. I'm familiar with John's tenure as mayor because Charlie was on the council for 8 years with you. But I'd like for you two to tell me what your vision is of being mayor. What are some of your responsibilities and how do you see yourself fitting into that position?
So as Mary said, you know, the council gets to vote, the mayor gets to be the representative of that, the leader, run the meetings, etc. I think the key, you know, one of the key responsibilities of the mayor is to be the team leader, to help the council focus on the things that they want, to be approachable by the community, to be not only a team leader, but a team member, to work with them, and to help set the mission and the direction. I think that if you look at, our tagline of the city is Gem of the Prairie. So as I look at the role of the mayor, how do we do that? And as I was talking to some people, one of the things is, are we the Gem of the Prairie? We are, but I think really we're a diamond in the rough. So we can be so much more. And how do we gather the group together and enlist all of you, the residents of the city, and work with, while they're working on researching, the particular topics. I see myself as the mayor reaching out to all of you and getting your input in your direction, finding out what you need, what you want us to be focusing on. Bring that together and have the council as a team discuss and debate and put plans together and make decisions on what that is going to be for you.
My response is very similar to his. The mayor is the leader to lead the council. The council ultimately makes the decisions. The committees make the decisions. But there needs somebody needs to help lead them and guide them to make good decisions for this community. The community is about you people, and this community is important, and there's a lot of decisions made, a lot of important decisions made, and all of you choose us to make those decisions. And we are here to make the best decisions for the community, and the mayor is the best person to help lead those decisions, and that's what I am here to do.
Okay. Bruce is at it again, but it was on my list. I don't know how to ask all 9 people to answer this question. So I'm just going to go with, let's see. Marlon, you've never served on a governmental board before, have you? Okay. Steve, John, Dennis, Jean. You guys are all sitting or former Paullina elected officials. So I'm going to ask this question of you guys. Is that fair, Bruce?
Yes.
Okay. What are the sources of revenue for the city? Glenda wants to answer fast.
The mayor?
Of course, taxes, but there are, what's that? That's the biggie, of course. There are grants available, got to be looking for them. But there are out there, there's fewer and fewer every year, just simply because, I shouldn't say there's fewer more than there's more competition for them. You'll find that there's money for the airport, there's money for streets, there's money for that, but that money's pretty much thrown into a pot, and then they tell every city around, now you can apply for it, but it's finite. That amount is finite. So a lot of cities have a talented person that can word the grants accordingly, and show a real need, and that we won't waste the money and spend it on trips to juniors or something like that. But there are grants available. I'm not thinking off the top of my head. I know there's a few others, but my mind isn't. But let's see. No, you don't get it now.
Well, it'll come back to you.
Yeah.
There's nothing to say.
Obviously, taxes and grants, but we also do have revenue from the utilities. And there is revenue from the road use tax. When you purchase gas at the gas station, there is a road use tax on that, and we receive from revenue from that also.
Do you get a portion of sales tax from
And-
businesses?
Yes. Yes.
We still have 2 people to answer.
Thanks, guys. Well, I was going to say our municipal utilities, but somebody already took that one. But that's where a lot of our money is generated, especially on the electrical side of things. There are entities that the City of Paullina work with that sometimes offer rebates, if I remember correctly. My situation is I'm not currently on the council. I'm going back 4 years, and that can sometimes make things difficult. But other than that, that's about all that I can remember. I know that for the fire department, one of their big contributors was O'Brien County Economic Development. They used to, and maybe they still do, get grants from that organization. So in the short of it, I would say our municipal utilities is the thing that we need to work on and make sure that we're generating the money that we can from those areas. Keep in mind that your taxes go towards those things as well. So, Gene, you got anything?
Sure, I'm the last one. It's like, what's left? We have a local option sales tax that we do count on. We also have revenues like from the Bryan County Economic Development. We do get rebates back from TCA each month. I can't tell you exactly how much that is. You know, and the fire department The ambulance, they get donations, so they kind of raise their own money, so. That's about all I can think of, Mary.
Actually, for all the I'll just say newly elected people to the council and mayor, is the League of Cities puts on a class every election year, and in this class, you discuss different ways the laws are passed and everything. But another thing is they will discuss grants and many of the ways that the cities can make money. And it's always a good idea to network, although we are in competition with other cities for it, so you may not get a lot of information out of other mayors, but it doesn't hurt to ask.
Okay, thank you. Just a second. Bruce, you catch me if I miss one, okay? Okay, we're gonna leave grants out of it. Property taxes is number one. Utilities are great, but not every city has a utility. So we're gonna leave that one as a big bonus for Paullina. Sales taxes. Local option sales tax is, I think, a little different than regular local sales tax, but don't quote me on that. And payroll taxes. What did I leave out?
Local option tax and grants.
And grants. And donations. You can always give. Okay, I see, okay, I saw hers first, I'll be right back. Switch up.
I heard a lot of people talk about the city financial situation and that the budget isn't being transparent. The budget has been published for about 10 months now. I've actually even read the budget. So what kind of non-transparency are you referring to when you say that you don't know the financial situation of the city?
Okay, hang on a minute. I was going to address this for everybody in between, and wow, we got a wild crowd here, and I love it. Steve had a question, and then I will get back to that, and then if I'm mistaken, we'll fix it.
Yeah, in regards to monies received, do we receive anything from Mid-American Energy in regards to the wind generators, as you know the county does? Is that dispersed at all to any of the cities in O'Brien County, or?
The school gets it.
The school gets it, but I don't know that we do. I don't think we do. I don't know, but I keep forgetting to ask.
Find out.
I will, because that's on my list.
I don't think it's directly, though, right?
The schools get it, but I don't know that we do. But I keep forgetting to ask them about it. Because I know they are starting, they're getting their money since what, 9/20, something like that.
Okay, I was just wondering, everybody knows where the money's coming from. Who has the idea to balance the budget? How are we going to do that?
Okay, that's a similar kind of question, and it's a good question, and it leads to some of the discussion about what happened to the money, where's the money, how much money is there. City staff, what?
We don't know because we have not seen the budget yet.
Okay.
It has not been printed so that we can.
Yes.
Yes, it has.
They have,
been
the
made
budget,
public
the
since
budget has been
January.
published.
The budget was published.
But the budget has been published, and I want to compliment Michelle Wilson and Alex, I don't know her last name. It's our city clerk and assistant clerk. They have recently, this meeting, they produced a budget tracking, so the budget is X% used. But that is only for this fiscal year, since July. They do not know the spending or the fund balances or anything for fiscal 22 from, they'll say July, August, they'll say September through June of 23. They're still trying to get transactions in, still trying to balance fund balances. I can say this definitively because I just talked to Alex the other day. She brought me up to speed on this. There was a budget percentage used from the departments distributed with the packets. That's what prompted me to ask, because it was the first time I've seen one since May of '22. And I believe that's what you guys are all referring to, not transparent. Nobody knows exactly where the spending has been, or where the money's come from, or what's left. Do I have that right? To the best of your knowledge? Okay.
Which is the treasurer's job.
Which is the
To balance that.
clerks and treasurers.
And we don't have a treasurer.
And we don't have a treasurer. That's correct.
I would just like to hear from the candidates rather than you. I know that you have talked to Alex recently, but I want more their opinion on the situation.
I think with the budget, we want facts. Thank you for the questions, and please keep asking them. Yes, you're right. We're here to hear from them. I wanted to get that point out because it's confusing and it's a little scary. And having watched it for months now, it's a lot of frustrating because it's not supposed to be that way. Yes?
I really don't need the money.
I need my exercise.
I was just wondering about all the contract work the city is having, and with the budget restraint, I just wonder why more of the work is not done by the city who has the equipment. Maybe we should sell some of the equipment if we're not using it, or I don't know what the tree removal is going to cost. It's going to cost a lot of money, and I don't really see the city chipping in a whole lot. So I know that the city has always run on the municipal electric budget. We were always in the black, and in the last 15 years, now it's just gone, all gone. There's no street repairs, that's contracted. There's no junk pickup, that's all contracted. I just don't understand. There's no money, but yet we're spending it on third-party work.
Thank you. Any comments on that?
Not being on the council currently, I can't specifically answer that question, but when I talked about my top 4 priorities, one of them is city organization. With that, I think we really need to review the current organization structure, determine what's working well, what's not working well, look at job descriptions, et cetera, determine how we're allocating that workload out, and really kind of start. I like zero-based budgeting and kind of start from the bottom up and just justify those costs every year. So I think there's a lot of things we can look at. We can get a lot better at certain things. Again, I don't have the history of where we're at right now, but I hear what you're saying. So I agree with that we need to really take a look at and dig into our structure of the city and see what we're doing and how we're doing it, what's most cost effective.
Okay, any more questions on budget or finance or money or priorities or these big hairy objects, goals?
Mayor. I can talk loud, it's fine. Do you guys have any thoughts about if we need to go back to 5 people instead of 4? Because when we first moved here, there was 5. So there was Bods and there was 4 city guys. There was 1 power lineman and 3 for water and sewer. Well, now we changed it where there's only 4 guys, and now we're saying like, well, this isn't getting done, and this isn't getting done, and we're contracting this, we're doing that. Well, when we have my husband, per se, doing the job that used to be 2 different people, that's now just 1. So have you guys ever thought of like, any thoughts about, do we need to go back to 5? Do we need to just have 4 city guys and the superintendent? Or what your thoughts are on that, if you've connected that with like the budget and complaints about things not being done, etc.
My thought is yes, definitely we need to look at that, and that's where we need to sit down with each one of our current staff, take a look at the structure. I personally think we need a city manager or city administrator because there's a lot to do that isn't hands-on out there that needs to be dealt with. The contracts, the organizing, the managing, the laying out of the timelines. There's a lot of work that the city manager would do that our city staff that we want to be hands-on work do. So I think we definitely need to take a look at that. Not to get off that topic, but while I have Mike, on the finances, when I hear the word that we aren't transparent with our city finances, that bothers me because that sounds negative. The only negative thing that I've sensed, and I've worked with the city a little bit on helping them identify what's not been recorded in our books, there's nothing that's being purposely hidden or anything like that. During the interim, when we had a transition in the city clerk's job, they got way behind on just entering the transactions. Fortunately, a lot of the big bills automatically get paid. All of the big revenue items come in. They automatically hit the bank. None of that stuff was being recorded during the interim time frame. That's what Alex and Michelle are really working on catching up on right now. So we've seen a budget. We have the budget. What we haven't seen is what our actual expenses are and all our actual revenue is, because it just hasn't all been recorded. We're hoping that by the end of, they're hoping by the end of this calendar year, just within a couple months, to be caught up on that. I've begged them to not let this carry over into the new administration of council and mayor to get a fresh start. So I'm not worried in what I've seen that the lack of transparency has been any wrongdoing. It's just really lack of getting things recorded on a timely basis.
Mary, and I'll speak a little bit onto that. I've just talked to the girls today and asked if they needed any more help, and they are to the point now that they're hoping to get all those treasurer's reports caught back up from September, or I think it was, yeah, September. August was a bad month for them back in '22, and so you can't go forward to do a treasurer's report until everything balances, and that's where it was stuck. And the money, the budget, we all approved that in June before the fiscal year started. The money is there, the bills are being paid, it just has to be balanced out. And there was so much, like Marlon said, that wasn't recorded. And nobody could come in and do it. We even had a couple extra people come in from a couple other cities, and they said too, you have to go back. You have to go back. I'm not used to this. My voice is loud. Anyhow, so I feel our staff is doing a great job, but there was a lot of things that fell behind, and it takes a long time with as much expenses and revenue to get it all put together. It just doesn't come like in your own little statement. Oh, I know, I'm back to that again. So, I feel it's really coming around, and I really feel within the next few weeks we will have the answers. But the revenues and the expenses, everything is being taken care of. It's there. So.
I was going to address it a little bit too. I didn't say they weren't transparent. What my question was is how could it be accurate when you don't have everything recorded? For a while there, and I hope that's changed by now. We didn't even know what was in our checking account, and so I don't know too many businesses, unless they're a government business, that can survive without knowing what's in their checking account. And so, but that was mine. This is the budget, by the way. I do have a copy of it. And so yeah, that was that, but my question is, how accurate is it?
What? The budget or the
budget.
Or the bank balance?
Well, the bank balance, if you don't have an accurate bank balance or don't know what it is, how can you have an accurate budget?
Why do you think that they don't know what the numbers are?
Because they don't know what's in their bank account. They don't know what they've spent on something.
How do you know?
Because they just said it. They just basically said that not everything was getting recorded. Well, if it's not getting recorded, how do they know they spent it?
They know what they're spending. It's the input into books and registration and records that is not being done because it's a lot of work to catch up on years worth of financial transactions.
Correct.
It's not that they don't know what the
I agree with that, but if it's not in the books, where are they getting these numbers?
They have the numbers. It's
Yeah,
just,
but where?
Then where are they?
where are they getting these numbers? I happen to be married, I'm married to an accountant, and I hear this every day. Every day,
Okay,
so.
thank you. We can agree that the budget is available, the fund balances are not certain. Kim has a question.
Okay, my question would be to the lady in the back and to John. If the budget isn't being recorded and wrote down and we don't have a treasurer, who does it fall back on? For why it's not being recorded, wrote down, etc. Who does it fall back on if there's no treasurer? Whose responsibility is it to write this down and make sure we have this?
Who were you addressing? Sorry, Kim. I can't see. Oh, okay.
I didn't catch your name.
Oh, no, it's Kirsten. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to overextend my knowledge of the situation, but I do know that my mom, who is the current mayor, spent months working on the budget for this fiscal year. Our house was covered in stacks of paper, like feet high, all of numbers. She took classes. We had accountants come in and help from other cities, other people helping to address the issue of not having these records caught up. I don't know for a fact that these numbers are certain or entirely accurate, but there is no way that they could run the city without knowing these numbers, which they had to use for the budget.
Okay, thank you very much.
I got us off track on that transparency.
Quickly, please.
Back to Caitlin's question, maybe, is where I got us off track on staffing.
Okay, Kelly's wife?
Yeah.
Okay. There's a microphone up there. Dennis is hiding it.
Jenny wants to talk.
She gets cut off every time. Every time she wants to speak, she gets cut off.
She hasn't been cut off at one time.
She's been cut off twice.
Back there. Denny speaking.
Marlon, did you want to say something?
No, I was just asking this, since I got us off track of Caitlin's question on staffing 5 versus 4 while I had the mic, I wanted to respect her question and answer that question.
Okay. Did you have anything else to say, Kirsten, about other than just, we know your mom worked hard and long on the budget, on the numbers, but she wasn't in the office to put the numbers in the computer, is that correct?
Well, I'm just saying that the responsibility, since we don't have a current treasurer, did fall back on the city clerk's office, meaning Michelle and Alex and my mother. And Alex was just added recently. Before it was just Michelle, and she was working very, very hard with my mom and other people, I think, in the Primgar office to try and get this published publicly for everybody. And yeah, I just wanted to say that it did fall back onto the mayor in the city's office to get this budget done, and it wasn't just up in the air.
Okay, so you were answering Kim's question? Okay. Dennis?
I can give you a little history on the labor situation with the city. I was on the council when we were going through gyrations of who should be advanced, who should do this, who should do that. And I was on the employee committee, and so we were mulling over things, looking at budgets and so on, and 2 individuals came to me and said that they would like to be superintendents, one electrical, one on the sewer water utility side. I said, I'll take it to the council. Council approved it. So we had 2 superintendents and we had 3 laborers, or 2 laborers and a electrical guy, I'll say. Lineman, yeah, there we go, that's the term. So we had 5 at that time. I left the council, and at some point it was decided that one of the employees would be let go, so that's what reduced the number to 4. Now, I don't know exactly why that person wasn't replaced. I would assume it was because of budgetary restrictions or limitations that they could replace that person. But what I will say is, if we needed 5 back in 8 years ago, we probably need 15 because of all the regulation and procedures and so on that these guys go through each day, their chores. I don't know how many of you knew that they do chores every day, the same thing. They gotta record this, they gotta record that. And I would assume, standing up for Callie, is that his fingers probably have lead all over him because of all the reports that he has to fill out every day. So we lost basically we lost another guy in the field, so then we're down to 3. So my suggestion to the new council would be is that you look at that issue, see if you can budget a new person for that outside, because you know, I would agree with Dean that we're doing more and more contracting, but you gotta weigh that contracting cost against another employee. And it's just not wages, it's benefits, IPERS, you know, a number of different things that go into the budget. But personally, I see these guys working every day. They're out there doing things. A lot of times I hear the comment, well, all they do is drive around. Well, being an individual that has property throughout the city, I can understand that, because sometimes you leave your house in the morning, you barely get to where you want to go and do the work, and somebody's already changed your schedule for you. So I'm sure that happens quite a bit with the city. So I want to give you a little background, a little insight to the way that I look at things. Contract labor to me is not a bad deal. The city has equipment, but for some of the jobs, they don't have the equipment that's necessary.
Okay, thank you. Is this a budget question?
Yeah.
Okay. Hold the thought. I want to move on. You all have little maps that are scattered around. I didn't get any back to the table, but we have some if you want them. That's the city's zoning map. That tells you what kind of building and activity you can have in what plat within the city. I want to ask all of them a series of questions. Do you understand what it means? Because it took me a while to figure it out. Do you think it works? And there's a whole big book called the zoning ordinances. Are those abided by? And if you don't know, fine, because it's a lot. We'll start with Kim. You want a minute? No, we're just going to go straight down the line.
What's your question?
Tell us what you think of the zoning. Does it work? Are the zoning ordinances abided by? Is it a good tool?
I'm not real familiar with this map for the zoning ordinance. I've not really. Now, do I think that the ordinances are fine being followed? No. But that's just my opinion versus the rest of the community. I could say one thing and they believe in something else. I mean, it's she thing.
Okay.
The zoning, this map lists where you can and can't do things. We've had some issues. I am not on the council, but I have been attending all the council meetings, and they have had some serious problems with people doing things in the city that it is not zoned for. And they've been trying really hard to send out letters for people to clean up their property and do what that property is designed for. We've had some people running businesses in residential area, and they have addressed that as well. The zoning in the town, part of what really is in the city limits is farmland. And there is some farming being done, but we're a small town, but we're trying to address, the city council is trying to address the ones that are not following what the zoning ordinances are for. We have some for agriculture, we have some for industry, we have some for businesses. it's a little bit of everything. And like this last meeting, they said they sent out 30 letters for people that was what they call nuisance property. And they have to follow up on this and see to it that the people that are doing things in the city limits that it is not zoned for has to correct their problem. And when you only have 2 people to follow up on that, it's not the easiest thing to do. That's why I'm looking out here at all these people. You have neighbors, and do you want this type of thing as your neighbor? A bunch of junk cars on your property next door to you. We've had an issue with raising chickens in town, and they addressed that. There's something almost every day, and that's where the neighbors come in. You try and talk to your neighbors and say, hey, you know, we'd like this done. But the zoning map is zoned particularly for certain things, and that's where the city council has to follow up on some of this stuff, and they need your help as well.
Thank you, ma'am. I think the zoning, basically the zoning map is probably really good. We have a zoning commission, planning and zoning commission, and they kind of work over things, and if that doesn't work, then they'll send them to us and we can look at them. You know, there's been a couple times I can remember where we need to give and take a little bit. We can't just be, this is the way it's gonna be. If somebody needs something, we can try to help them and work with them to get it to go better. And I'm hoping that we've been doing that.
I'm looking at this map for the first time, just zoning, and got to understand it. Said it took a little while for you to understand it, but the single-family residential zoning thing, you know, we all know that's our houses, whatnot, but I have a couple chickens. I do just for, I think, single guy, have a couple chickens, have some eggs in the morning, and it's kind of like Easter every morning if you find one. So, yay. I also, when I'm not doing my full-time job, I'm tinkering in my garage and do woodworking, and I sell my little projects online. It's not considered a business, but it supports me through the rough times, you know, extra couple bucks selling my projects here and there. I've had reports that people complain about that on me, and of course I have questions too. So I just want to say, I mean, I appreciate all you guys' questions, because that's why I want to represent, because I want to answer those same questions to the council, hear that, and bring that, problem solve a lot of situations. But I mean, I like this map because it gives me an idea of, you know, I wish I had the name of every business and this and that, so I could picture it better in my head, instead of just a red zone and blue zone or something.
Well, this is the first time I'm seeing this map, but I guess, well, Glenda had quite a bit to say about a lot of stuff, like normal. Jean too, you know, there's a lot of people who have discussed zoning and issues with zoning, and they will go to the city, and I know that you guys have been very helpful with any questions that they have, or yays and nays of what they can and cannot do. At this point, I mean, this map is kind of confusing, really. But I think you guys have done a great job. I've had how many people talk about zoning and going to you guys, and so I think, yeah.
I'm looking at that going, I live right here.
Yeah.
Well, folks, you can lay this one at my feet too. When I was on the council, we actually did the zoning ordinance. We worked with a consultant to do that. Of course, we had our input and so on. And this map that you have in front of us is just a result of that. The map is nice in the respect that you can see what you can and can't do in a certain area. the ordinance was written, and I think there's still times that people aren't aware that they need to come to the city for a review of the ordinance, and that's how some of these situations happen. You know, we're in a rural area and everybody's independent and they want to be independent, and but there are restrictions on properties, more on some than others, that keep the city the way it needs to be. So, what were the questions besides? It's been such a long time.
I talked too much.
No, that's,
And there's only 40 minutes left.
okay, I get 40 minutes, in other words?
No. Oh, okay.
So anyway, just...
Is it a good map? Does it work?
It
And-
works.
Okay.
It works.
What was the goal when you worked on it?
To make sure that we had complementary properties next to each other was one of the issues that we looked at. And of course, if you look at your map, you see a lot of little red spots, which in our mature town are existing facilities or what there are. So there really wasn't a choice to make a red a yellow or make a red a blue or whatever it was, because everything it was established. One thing that I would bring up and be aware of, as you look at this map, you can see that Paullina is somewhat landlocked as far as development and so on. So it's just the map that shows that. So I'll pass the mic.
I was also on the council when the ordinance was made law, and it is better than it was. I remember being on the council and somebody would want to set up, or somebody would complain, would want to set up a little manufacturing place right next to a person that goes to bed at 8 o'clock or something like that, and they didn't want that. And there was really no control, because without the ordinance, the council couldn't say this is not allowed. You have to put it somewhere, but without a zoning, the person could put up a factory or anything they wanted, anywhere they wanted. And now you have neighbors fighting again because it's too noisy, trucks are going down the street and picking up stuff, and it just didn't work until we had the zoning ordinance.
The zoning code does work. That got put in place, you turn it on for me, John? That got put in place in, I believe, in 2013. What it did was alleviate a lot of the decision making. The code is the code. When somebody wants to build something in this town and they get a building permit, that code can be followed. So I think that the code works well, and there are times where someone needs to change something in their building project, or it needs to be come to the zoning board, and they can look at it and look at that situation and then make the decision at that point. But without that zoning code, there are no rules to start with, and that's what we had previous to that. So I think that it does work really well.
Yeah, I would agree. Any town needs a zoning map and zoning ordinance like it. I think the zoning ordinance is good. I know the council is just going through the process of updating it because it's been around for a while and you amended it a number of times, and then you just need to take a fresh look at it. In my opening comments, I mentioned being good neighbors. It's unfortunate that the city has to deal with so many nuisances and send out so many nuisance letters. If we would just all try to be good neighbors and see once what impact how we maintain our own property is having on potential property values next to us, etc., we wouldn't have to do this kind of stuff. But a lot of people don't like rules, but we live in a community, and when we live as close as we do within a community, then you have to have some ground rules. They'll do that. If you don't like that, then we should go buy acreages and do what we want out where we're not impacting anybody, not impacting our neighbor. So we could just be good neighbors. It'd be nice so if the city didn't have to, quote, waste its time following up on nuisances, issuing the letters, enforcing the nuisance order, the nuisance letters, etc. But this is the basis to work from. And really people just need to understand, that there are good reasons for having these rules, guidelines in place.
Thank you. Okay, do you remember the question you had?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Zoning physically organizes a community. The mayor and the council administratively organize a community. Is that well said? No? Okay, I tried. Are there any questions right now about any issue we've covered so far?
No, can I ask a different question?
Sure.
A totally different question. Absolutely.
So I have young kids in the community, and one of my best friends just moved to town and back to town. We don't have a lot of that. How, as mayor, would you approach it to try to get families, young families, back to town? Reasons. What are the reasons to have them come back to town to live here?
Is this just for the mayors?
Yeah, for the mayors, because they're the leaders. They're supposed to be our leaders.
Start there.
Okay, hold on. Okay, it's 5 to 9. The three of you have till 5 after 9.
We have to make this town be appealing. It's like if you look back a number of years, Paullina was the place to be amongst the neighboring cities. Right now, I don't think Paullina is the place to be for neighboring cities. A couple of reasons for that. One is, unfortunately, we don't have, it's been talked about, space for new housing. Some people are moving back and they move back from a city or someplace else and they want to build a new house. So somehow we need to address that. We're limited on that. We have some things, one of the big reasons Cheryl and I moved back here is because we have the grocery store and the hardware store and the theater, those types of things. We already have those. We don't have a good, in my opinion, first impression when we come into town. It just doesn't look good. We need to clean up Highway 10. We need to clean up our streets. We need to fix our potholes. We need to sweep our streets. We need to keep our lawns mowed. And we need to keep our houses painted and maintained, etc., so that when you drive into this town to check it out or visit somebody, you look at this and it's like, wow, this is really a cool place to live, and I want to be a part of it. So that's a lot of, how do we do that is the hard part of it. How do we all become a part of that? And I'm sure the council and I will be very open to that. Say, how do we do it? Part of it is, and that's why we have to do the nuisance things. Those are the properties that are making probably the biggest impact on what the city looks like. I always threaten Cheryl, my next purchase is going to be an edger, and go through and edge the curbs, throughout this town, because you edge your curbs, you mow your lawn, etc., and it just changes the whole look and feel of the town. So I think those are the types of things that, I think we have a lot of services, that we offer. We have, but we can be a lot better. It's kind of that diamond in the rough thing. How do we just take everything and do it a little bit better or a lot better in some fashion? So those are just my ideas.
Yeah, I would agree with Marlon. We need to have this community look good and appealing to somebody to come into this community. One of my goals is to have activities for children, young adults in this town. If it's a matter of doing something with the parks and recreation in this town, that's something we need to look at. We also need to look at housing. That is important to get some housing in this town. There are young people that want to come into this town. There are houses available, but I know for a fact that there are some young people that would prefer to build, and that is something that we need to look at. Look at getting new housing in this community. We also have great businesses, and we need to encourage our business people to stay, and we need to encourage new businesses in this community. I think that's very important also.
Okay, to cut it short, not to repeat everybody, ditto on those two. But
You have 5 minutes.
no, I don't know, but why repeat? Because I agree with them. But we don't need to reinvent the wheel either. Paullina is a fantastic place to live. Marlon's moved here. I'm sure he loves it here. Put the pressure on. No, and there's people moving to Paullina every day. The big thing and that I point at is the housing. And with housing could also go possibly for young people that are moving to Paullina might need some financial help. So are there some grants out there or a low rent housing plan that we can get in on for the younger people or the older residents that are on the limited income? Do we need an apartment complex and not just a bunch of houses? We have probably, 6, 7, 8 houses for sale in Paullina right now. So there are houses, but what do they cost? Can we afford them? Or can people afford them? So they need, people may need help, or we need an apartment complex for them. I'm done.
Okay, we have a couple of audience
Can
questions.
I make a comment quick? Real quick? I know I'm not a mayor. Watch out.
But he said he was going to go.
I just, all the improvements and so on that you're talking about, I just want to make a comment that we have to be aware of not infringing on the property owner's right to enjoy their property. So just take that for what it is, because as I mentioned, we just need to be aware of that and not overstep. Thanks.
I'm going to kind of piggyback off of the previous question asked by the mayors with more of a statement. And truthfully, I guess I'm surprised that I haven't heard the word daycare. I haven't heard that word one time tonight. And I know we've got some great in-home providers, licensed or unlicensed. We've recently had the Saving Grace daycare. I'm not here to stand on one side or the other of how that's been run or who's running that or anything like that. But I can tell you for a fact, if there is not a daycare in town or a place to bring your kids, or if you're expecting to have a kid and you think, well, where am I going to send this kid? None of the other issues that we talked about tonight matter. I mean, if you can't have somebody like a daycare to, if I have another child, where am I going to send my kid, or my wife's going to stay home? You know, that's a real issue. And I know that's probably pretty hard for a city to handle, but I think it's a great, you know, if you want to get young people in here, you know, I guess I'm speaking in generalisms, but I'm probably one of the predominantly younger people in here, and we need to get the people that are younger involved. I see some great leaders up here, some movers and shakers, but I think it's a good objective for the city council, the mayor, the city's office to try to invigorate this community with some younger blood, because it takes all of us. It can't just be the, I hate to say the word older generation or the middle-aged generation, but it takes everybody. And we can't grow if we don't have younger people coming back. Right?
I do want to talk about the daycare. I'm not for sure if everybody is privy to that, but the daycare is going to be opening up here in town, the Saving Grace. I do have ties to that. I was part of that daycare opening. You know, we took many years actually really trying to get that figured out financially, getting that open, or getting that over here from Sioux Center, and finding workers and everything else. And it was really sad, and it was really hard to see that daycare close. But I really wish that people would look at that as a benefit for this community, because it really is needed. You know, we've got great in-home daycares, and I used one, but not everybody can afford to go to an in-home daycare because they may not be state certified. We need to have they have
Nicole, what does that mean? For some people that don't understand what that means.
So for state certified,
Yes.
so if you can't afford daycare, and if you don't make, a whole lot of money and you need government assistance, there's a lot of them out there. When I was on the board, I would get calls at 3 o'clock in the morning saying, hey, I just had this person placed, I need to have your daycare. And if we don't have that child does not get to go to a safe place. And that's crucial for our kids, for our future.
I have a comment on that, okay? I don't have a, it kind of goes back to the ordinances and stuff, everything. Because I've heard a lot of people talk about unification as like, when we started this meeting, what was one thing that you're really looking at? Or we're seeing a divide, right? And we want to see more of unification in our town. And if you look at the majority of people here, there's not any young families here. So then we keep talking and we keep talking. Okay, well now we're talking about, well, it has to look nice. Like, what if their weeds are too long? Or what if their house isn't painted? Or things like that. But what about the families that are out there working hard, working long hours, trying to raise little children that don't have time and money to do those things? And then when it comes back to the ordinances, we have people that drive around town, write down things that are not right, and just send them off to the city, and then we don't appropriately address that issue. It's petty. We're treating it petty. And that's not going to unify anything, and that's not going to bring young families and more people into our town if that's how we are treating our neighbors, treating our town people. And I mean, I understand that you need ordinances because I get it, we need rules, things have to stay a certain way, whatever, but I just feel like there's an appropriate way to do that, and there's an inappropriate way to do that. And I think people that are not elected city officials, that are just deciding to take their afternoon off and write down all the things that all these people are doing wrong, and then we're just sending it out without even blinking an eye, are we stopping to think, hey, she's a single mom with 4 kids, or hey this, or hey that, and how is a different way to go about some of those things without being so petty with it, where we can work more together, because at the end of the day, doing things like that just essentially pisses people off and it doesn't get us anywhere other than having mad people and maybe just upset, frustrated young families that don't have the money or don't have the time.
Or energy.
Or drive them out.
Caitlin, that's such a really good point. It really is. Coming from a person who used to work, 50, 60 hours plus Daniel as well before what we currently do. But that's where also, Marlon said, your neighbor slogan, be a good neighbor. That's where it also comes down to teamwork. We are a small community, and that's one really great thing about being in a small town. We help each other out. So, if you do see someone struggling, then help the person out. Be a good neighbor and help them out. I think we've gone away from that, and we've kind of built up our walls, and it's like, nope, you're doing this wrong, so, I'm just gonna bash you, and, but how about helping them? And it goes for everybody. If someone sees that someone's struggling, just help them out. Be nice. Be a good neighbor.
Done. Finally.
This has nothing, not for any individual or anything. It's just that Marlon was talking about making the town safe and approachable for people that they want to come here and they like it and so on. And every year, a couple of times, we get a letter from the town that says that you are responsible for your sidewalks and trimming your trees so that when you walk down the sidewalk, you don't have to hit the branches and everything. And years ago, I was told that my sidewalk it wasn't safe to walk, it needed to be replaced, so I did it. But now, there's several people like to walk. You walk down sidewalks now that aren't repaired, but nobody does anything about it. But I get a letter that says everybody is responsible for doing this and we're supposed to do it. but it's not being done. And if you're not going to enforce it, then don't send a letter out and say you have to do it. I did something with one person once, and they said, well, watch where you're walking. I guess that's one way to get around the problem. Anyways, just why say it or why build shit if you're not going to do anything about it?
So is that a real question toward them?
It is, and the town, everybody walks. We got a lot of people. I don't need a mic, I'm loud enough. Oh, Cameron needs a mic, I don't even know where it's on. I just got done replacing part of my sidewalk because of that, and everybody in this town are walkers. I mean, I live on Maple Street, and that's probably the busiest street in town. And I see people walking all the time, and I love it because I love to talk to, as you know, I like to talk. So, but Don is right. We need to get some of these sidewalks replaced because they are a hazard to anybody that is walking. I have seen people walk down in the street because the sidewalks are in such bad repair. But it is your responsibility to replace these sidewalks. And I know a lot of the sidewalks are in bad repair because of the trees. The root system pushes them up, and it doesn't help, you know, the sidewalks. But he's right. Why send a letter out and then not follow up on them? And that was one of the issues they talked about at the last meeting, is that they had all these letters out, but nobody knew where they went to and who they went to. So these are things that the council needs to help follow up with and go talk to people. And we can be good neighbors, you know, with a lot of this stuff. And like she said, people don't have the money, and so we need to figure out a way to help them. So that.
Thanks, Linda. Do you have a question?
I just have a quick question for anyone up there. Mark and I have lived here since 1979, and I know that you guys have all said about, you know, bringing people in. Which is a good thing, because we're a farming, agricultural, you know, community. But, you know, like say Sheldon or Hartley or whatever, what areas do we have in our community that you could have a new addition or a new apartment building or whatever, because there is so much farmland, which is wonderful, but do we have specific areas to build such things as that in the community, and where are they located?
There was a spot where you see the ag part here that used to be a development. The ag part in the lower corner used to be developed for residential. And years and years and years ago, that has since been sold to buy or get the G1, the West Industrial Park. So it's back to ag again, but that is something that the councils have kept in mind, is to develop that area there. I turned it on.
No, I lost mine.
It's right here.
You know, I just want to make a comment basically about, you know, not seeing young people. And it's almost like, I don't know how to word this properly. You know, I belong to the American Legion, and, you know, all of us belong to churches, hopefully. And you don't see the young people. Why? I mean, is it something we're doing? And personally, I don't think so. It's because they don't want to be involved. I mean, we try to recruit in our Legion, you know, before there was never an issue. This younger generation, to me, just does not want to be involved. And yes, it takes time and it takes commitment. But, you know, why aren't there more young people here? You know, it just baffles me. And, you know, 30, 40 years ago, it wasn't an issue. But as the generations go, I just think they're just more self-absorbed. And yes, you know, they're working harder, I understand that. But still, you can, you know, they make time to go to places and do fun things, etc. But there's also the other side of it where, you know, you need to commit to your community and your country. And I'm just not seeing that anymore. And it's disturbing. You know, again, you know, where are the young people at this meeting? It's not a priority. Why aren't they in church? It's not a priority. You know, that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Steve. Anybody else, comments, questions? Did you remember?
Yeah. Can I respond to Steve? I don't disagree with you at all, but some of the responsibility falls on our shoulders too. Are we asking? Are we asking these young people to get involved?
Yes.
Okay, that's good. Well, you need to keep asking. I found that out with all my recruiting days is sometimes it takes more than one ask to get somebody involved. Or you ask his best friend and you get them involved and then you say, go get this guy involved. So there is a process, and I think it's incumbent on us seasoned citizens to ask the younger people to get involved and just keep hounding them and asking them and asking them, and we'll get them here, but that's the first step, I believe.
Yeah, Denny, this is towards you. You were talking about the staffing was 5, went to 4. Has Paullina ever done a work study? Someone to come in and analyze the work? That may answer some questions about, do we have enough people? Do we have too many people? Has that ever been addressed?
That, as far as I know, has not been addressed recently. John just whispered to me that many years ago there was one done, so that's probably on the to-do list, I would say, for the new council. Thank you.
Anybody else? Questions, comments? Okay, before I give it to the...
Mary. She has a question.
Okay, before I give it over, I want to do a little plug here. Our auxiliary ladies have done a great job. Please reach into your pockets and tell them thank you. And when we were arranging this, I was told they didn't have a PA system. So we were going to rent one from a library we know has one, and they no longer do that because somebody didn't return it timely. So we bought one. And tonight, part of our donation will be this little PA system to the Legion.
Two things just real quick. As a young person myself, I agree that younger people are not as interested in kind of the small town life as they might have been in the past. I don't think it's necessarily anybody's fault. You can't place blame on the older generation or the new generation, but I think it's just an issue of acceptance and welcoming on both sides, and trying to have a similar understanding of both perspectives, because I guarantee that I have a much different perspective on the world than some of the other people who are a bit older than me. And I don't think that's necessarily a moral failing on my part or anybody's part. To bring it back to zoning, since we've been talking about the EMS building, is there somewhere that any of you guys would have in mind for building the new EMS building? Would you put it in like the same spot that it is now, or would you attempt maybe even rezoning in an available area?
I can speak to that. So this last Monday night, we approved the corner of Maple Street and Broadway for the fire department to have that property to build that structure there. There is some other property available. At this point, I can't speak on that because of privacy reasons, but I did talk to the fire department. I talked to an individual there and explained to him what was possibly could come up in the next few days for another piece of property that they could acquire. So the property on Maple and Broadway, that isn't necessarily cut and dried yet, but the council did approve that location for the fire station.
To speak, you were talking about the younger generation and follow up on Steve's question. I think we need to figure out how we engage the younger people and fit opportunities to serve within their lifestyles. I know a lot of people are hesitant to take a city or a church or a legion. Once you say yes, you're in it for life. And some people aren't ready to make that kind of a commitment. One of the things I would recommend to the council, if I'm elected mayor, is we have a lot of committees on the council, and it keeps council people really busy. I would like to expand that and have those committees really be resident committees with a council liaison to them, and have it be project focused, shorter time frames, et cetera, so you can accomplish it. You don't time in forever, and it's just a way that we can get people involved. We can, they would like to serve probably if they can fit it into their schedules, and that would fit it easier. It would start to groom some younger people to get more familiar with the city and the organization and how the council works. So I think we can look at some of those kinds of things to see how we can engage them as well and fit it within their lifestyles.
Maybe I missed this, but when we were talking budget and the treasurer, are we hiring a treasurer or do we have one?
Can I speak to that? So when we moved to town, I was asked to be the city treasurer, and I was going to say yes, and I said I would do that, but I did a little bit of homework and chose to not, and I recommended that they not appoint a treasurer. I didn't want to be appointed treasurer because at that point, the job of the treasurer isn't to make sure that everything is recorded properly. If you look at our ordinances of Paullina, the treasurer's job is to make sure that the financial statements show the bank balances accurately consistent with what is in the bank. The financials, with having so many entries not recorded, the treasurer was not able to do the treasurer's job because that's their one and only job. So the treasurer is not a very extremely time-consuming job. It's just another set of eyes signing off on the accuracy of the financials compared to the balances in the actual bank accounts. So they, after that, I don't know that they've tried to get one, but the treasurer right now, if we had a treasurer, if I would have taken that job, people would have been asking me, it's like, you're appointed treasurer, why aren't you doing the treasurer's job? It's because the treasurer can't do its job right now. So it's not a hired position. I think there's a little bit of pay related to it, but that's really the holdup of having the treasurer, is to have good, accurate financial statements, having the staff, the city clerk staff, reconcile the books before the treasurer even gets them to do that final reconciliation.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments?
Mary?
Yes, okay. I saw Charlotte's hand first, and then I'll come back to you, okay, Lori?
So I'm just going to finish my other half's thought that he might not have thought of.
She's more diplomatic.
Unmarried people do that. I do appreciate all the young gals that have done so many things with the activities that have happened in our town. And we wouldn't have any of those without you young people. And you just forgot about that. So just excuse that. So anyway, we do thank you for that.
Thank you.
And you have brought new life. Whoever's been on those committees, who brought new life to our town. So thank you.
We got Tammy too and Katie.
Yeah. Thank you.
Hi guys, just a quick question for probably, well, I guess all of you. A couple of years ago, I stood before the council and said, if we don't get volunteers, we're not going to have an ambulance. Luckily, we had a lot of people step up, and we now have a crew of 16 strong. Where at the time I stood before you, we had 2 EMTs and 2 drivers, and we're not able to be in service 24/7 like our charter says we are to be. What would you do as council members or mayors if we found ourselves in a similar situation again, which, knock on wood, we're not going to?
Let's move the microphone down to the council members because they've been pretty quiet tonight. Let's start with Jane, because I know she's been working with EMAs.
That's a good question. I'm not exactly sure where we would go. We would have to beat people's doors down and try to recruit more members. I don't think we can really lose our EMS people. They're very good people. We rely on them, and we can't lose them. We would have to do, I don't know what we would do, but we can't lose you guys. You guys have done a very good job, and I would do everything possible to help you so that we could recruit new members if needed.
I just want to add to that when it comes to the EMT and fire department to consider you guys isolators or insulators, and instead of isolators. Isolators is obviously a negative word. People who don't, the young crew is not coming here to the meetings, they're isolating a little more. You guys are our insulators, and what I mean by that is we set things in place to protect us. Insulation you put in your house to protect you from the heat, to keep the cold out and to keep the heat in or something like that. You guys are the same way. You're our insulators where we've set you guys in place to protect us. And we appreciate that. And if more people would look at it like that and know where you're important, they'd probably sign up more often.
Well, again, I was a council member when Lori said that. Getting a lot of travel on things that were done my year, but that were done during my years on the council. But as with any situation or issue, if you get out in front of it, you have a greater chance of getting to where you want to be, and that's how I would address it if we see an issue with decline in membership on fire department or on the ambulance, that we get out in front of it. I did have the opportunity to stop by the ambulance meeting last night. I'll say they're a lively group of individuals. You can tell they're committed to what they're doing. They had good turnout at their meeting. I would say there was probably 10 to a dozen people there out of 16. That's pretty good. So that's how I would approach that issue, is try to get out ahead of it, keep track of where things are, and if there was an issue, to get it taken care of.
I just have to commend them because we used you 2 years ago for my son, and they were excellent. They came instantly and got him to the hospital. But the gal that wants to know about young people, you know, get involved in some of these things. Your husband maybe, volunteer fire department. These are all volunteer jobs. You know, maybe you have some time that you could go with the ambulances. And they offer classes. You can take classes up at Sheldon and learn these things. I know a lot of you have young kids, but it's a great, what do I want to say? A great thing to do this. And I wish I could do it. I'm not that young anymore, but I try and do as much as I possibly can to help out this town. And like I am an implant. I'm originally from Cherokee, And I remember, this is a small town, you have a great ambulance service, but I remember being in Cherokee where they also had ambulance problems, and they have a hospital. And they could not find drivers for their ambulances. So.
Are you talking to one of us back here personally, or who are you addressing?
You're what?
Are you addressing one of us back here?
The younger ones to get involved with the EMTs, yeah.
Oh, she is? Like me personally, or just
Sure.
us? Well, I am a volunteer.
Well, but.
I am volunteer, I am on the ambulance.
Okay, but there is a
So I have
couple
no
others back here.
She's
Yeah, there's another one back there. There's some over here.
Yeah, I mean, I get what you're saying, but like, me personally, I am involved.
No, I'm not talking to you personally. I'm talking to all the other people because they wanted to know what they could do to get the younger people involved in this town. That's one thing they can do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Shut up now.
Okay. In my opinion, Lori, what I'd say would need to be done is you need to advertise, promote, recruit, things like that. I wouldn't wait for the moment to arise, I just do it. You got all year, just keep sending flyers and stuff, getting people to get on board. Also want to touch with what Steve was bringing up about the younger generation and that. I remember when I moved here in 1996, we had a bowling alley, and we had timeout, we had all this stuff going on. And now look at what we have now. We have nothing, except a theater. There's really not much for the young population to do, so where have they gone? They've gone to bigger cities where they have more to do. We need to bring stuff like that back. A bowling alley or a little arcade place for the young kids to go. You know, that is what draws the younger generation to your town. They look at your town, they come, they enjoy, and then they start looking at the homes that are available. It's, like I said in the beginning, it's the community working together and doing their part. You know, help each other out. Do what you need to do. And that goes with advertising, promoting, and doing stuff like that for the fire department and ambulance. You know, start promoting. Get out there and get the word out. You're going to get people to come.
Thank you. Okay, we're at 9:30. No, it's 9:32, sorry. Okay, I'm going to give each one of these guys, mayors, you don't get to answer that question. You got a question council didn't get, so sorry. I'm going to give each candidate 1 minute to wrap up their point of view for why they should get your vote. I'm going to start with, I haven't started with Nicole and Jay, so we'll do that. Yeah.
Why I want to be part of City Council. Again, I love this town. I've been a member of it for 40 years. I have pride in this town. I have done countless hours of volunteer work for events, for the community, and I feel like I can give more than what I have done already. I really want to create a rapport amongst everybody on the council, on the city, the mayor, council, the employees. I think that is something that is crucial for effectiveness. And I think that the expectations should be the same for anybody else. Sorry.
That's okay. Thank you.
I'm on board with Nicole 100%. I also look at things when it comes to the community. I'm one of those neighbors, I feel if I see your lawn needs mowing, I'm out mowing and you're going to work, I'm probably going to mow it for you just because I'm bored and I'm mowing. I would like to see more people like that. When we have somebody who is not capable, maybe because of age or health, that can't remove the snow from the sidewalk within 24 hours, I'd like to be part of a committee or something that they can call and say, I got your back, I got you covered, I will help you out. And that's what I would like to do, see more guys, and that's some of the younger generation, to be able to step up and do that with me.
You guys are good. I really don't consider myself better than any of these other people because we're all equal here. We're all running for city council. I would like to continue my term, get a second term, to try to finish some of the things we've got started and try to help better our community. We can always use better community members. Thank you for coming.
Here I am with the mic again. I guess I had been asked by so many people, and they have come to me with things that they would like to see done in the town of Paullina, and has purposely asked if I would run for city council and see if these things couldn't get done. I have a list of things, and you talk about the young people. We talk about different things. You know, there's so many things. We've got a tennis court that's not being used. It was talked about maybe making a pickle. Is that what, am I saying that? Pickleball court out of it? We have a bank building downtown that is sitting empty, and I have ideas that could be used for that bank building. You know, we do need to have things for our kids. I'm so happy that the fire department is going to be getting a new building. That was my very #1 priority. And is my time up?
Pretty close.
I was hoping it was. No. But there are so many things that I want to see done, and because so many people came to me on the street and at my house and walking down and asked me to run for city council, so that's why I'm running. You're up.
Thanks. Kind of like Glenda, same situation. I had people approach me wanting to know if I'd run for city council. They wanted to see fresh faces, new ideas, see what I could do to help, if there was anything we could do to help the community, and be on board with everything. And I agree with what she had said. We got a lot of ideas that we could approach to you guys with helping hands, and we can do this. But it's going to take fresh faces and new ideas.
Mayors? Oh, wait, Dennis.
Guess I'm a mayor.
If you want a guy with 40 years of experience in team building and management, you're looking at him. The city's always going to have issues, and we need people on the council that know how to break apart those issues and get to a resolution. I did that throughout my career, and I think I can continue to do it being a member of the council. I've been on the council before, so I have an understanding of what goes on. Of course, as things go, I probably have forgotten more than I can remember from being on the council. But I love this community. I'm ready to serve. I believe in the Constitution. I'm a conservative, which I think is needed at this point on the council also. But as I mentioned, it's a charge of the council to take issues that are happening in our community to break them down and solve them. And I know how to do that. Thank you.
Real quickly, before I tell you why I should be a mayor, I wanted to mention for the EMS people that I know they do not volunteer to get accolades, but please, when you see somebody that's an EMT, nurse, or anything, tell them that they're appreciated. It helps. Now, why should I be a mayor? Well, for one, I have probably the most experience of most of them here, having been on both the council and as a mayor. I'm very open-minded. I have a unique ability to step back and kind of see the big picture of what's going on. Everybody gets treated with respect at the meetings. And I promise that they will be heard. As far as all the others, you've heard my other reasons and excuses. I know this is my big chance to really make the big sale, but you don't want to hear it, no.
Well, currently being on the council, I was on the council for 1 4-year term already, and I have 2 years into the second term. We have a lot of work to do. We need to bring back some dignity to this office, and I'm willing to lead us in the direction for the council to make good decisions for the community. And that's why I'd like to be the mayor.
So, as your mayor, I'm excited about the opportunity to be an advocate for the town. I've got a lot of years, decades, years of business experience, leadership experience, executive teams. I've been on boards of nonprofits, so I think I can bring a lot to the table. I mentioned before, team leader, team builder. I want to really focus on that, engage more of the community. I don't have any other agenda other than to help make Paullina great. That's why we moved here, and we want to do whatever we possibly can do to help that happen. So, thanks for your consideration.
Thank you all very much.